We have seen in the course of these lectures how there's been a shift from utopian ideas about images of a better world where farmers could till the land, where people had the right to life, where society was more harmonious, to a utopian vision that was understood to be part of history itself, almost an automatic movement for the improvement of mankind. Where somehow in the progress movement of the 19th century, in the scientific advances, in the democratic participation of people in the forming of their government and the making of laws and the shaping of society, we have a utopian perspective that things will get better and better. And yet in reality, the 19th and 20th century produced much harm when these visions became stronger than and replaced practical ideas of how to deal with a particular situation at each moment of history. And what we've seen here for history and for society at large, we must also be willing to apply to ourselves. That is, we also are constantly tempted by utopian, by idealistic expectations. We assume that perfection is possible. We assume that somehow we can expect a perfect church, a perfect marriage, a perfect work situation, a perfect government. And if indeed, as I've said at the beginning, we're satisfied with only perfection or nothing, we in fact will always have nothing. And that is why so many people, in so many people's lives today, life itself has become so frustrating because it stands in contrast to their vision of a perfect situation. If in fact they dealt more with the biblical perspective, and that is you only ever have a given situation. You don't have a future. You don't have all possible answers or all possible openings. If you dealt only with the givens of the real situation in which you find yourself and had good ideas of how to improve on that practically with the choices that are given at that moment, you would be able to much better deal with the painfulness of some of life and the frustrations we all experience and the sorrow that is part of our life, because then we would have ideas of how to work on these and to improve on them. A utopian perspective is willing to smash everything that stands in its way. As one of the books I pointed out, The Coercive Utopian by the Isaacs, points out that the utopian vision is of such a beauty that it needs to be imposed no matter what the cost. It is a concern for the end without paying any attention to the means. It's in fact destroying the particular choices one has at any given moment in pursuit of the ultimate choice imposed on the present. The reality of that is that indeed the present is too problematic, is too small, is too finite, and it's a far better and more accurate reading of the situation in which any one of us finds himself to go back to what Scripture talks about, and that is that history is very real, that there will be no point in history when it's ever closed, finished, and there is no more dynamic, that at each moment we are called to exhibit our humanity following the mandates that God has given us, to imagine an improvement, to imagine variety, to imagine a solution for a particular problem, rather than to always run after this universalist vision of how to solve society. Thank you for coming. I hope you allow me to sit tonight. Maybe that'll be a little more comfortable on my back than the preceding evenings. This is the fifth and last of this short series on the subject, the real and the ideal, on the danger of utopian totalitarianism. And I'll try to wrap up what I have to say, but hopefully it has stimulated you enough to keep thinking about that and to discover in your daily experience, your life, the things you read, the proposals that come your way for solutions of various problems of a personal nature or a national nature, a cultural nature, that you think of this necessary distinction between the real and the ideal.